an iPad or an iPhone or whatever, as we all know, because we probably spend too much time on them ourselves, and it stimulates us. You're checking what's on Facebook, you're checking whatever you're playing Angry Birds or whatever it is. Interestingly, in this place in Southampton, I was saying, it's linked to a main children's hospital, right? And when they had they opened a new ward of it, a brand new, really all singing, all dancing ward, and they had a rule because of their sleep things and about this not stimulation in iPad and so on. They actually banned phones and tablets from this children's young people's ward. So whenever they were in for operations, whatever they were in for, they literally took their phones off them. Within, I was just going to, you know what I'm going to say, the trauma, and I use that word, genuinely advisedly, the trauma that was causing and the emotional upset to the teenagers particularly, but all ages, was such that it was really affecting their well-being. That we have now got a generation of kids and adults as well, but we've got a generation where they cannot be separated, and to be separated from them can actually cause. There's always sort of argument about that.
My son's completely comfort. His whole working and social environment became the iPad. It's his whole world. The iPad's his whole world. And we have to, we're getting, we know the lighting is stimulating, we're having to compromise somewhere.
I used to work, and to some extent still do, with using technology with kids with disabilities, and there's vast amount of benefits you can get from that. And you're right, we created that because there's those benefits. I think really it's not to blame iPads and phones or whatever, it's to blame overstimulation before bed. That's the main thing. You mentioned about the bunny rabbit that becomes a really exciting event. That's a detrimental, not because it's a bunny, but because it's so effective and so good at stimulating that it actually stops them falling asleep. The opposite of what it's meant to do, exactly. So it's not so get tied down in the fact that it's blue light and all that. That is a factor. But to do something just before bed that's too engaging, too stimulating, too exciting is going to be detrimental.
My love getting ready for bed and then all catching up together and watching the film and stuff before bed, and presumably that's actually.
Again, that actually increases melatonin as well.
Yeah, we tend to do that like after a bath. So when they get in their pajamas on, there'll be something on quiet in the background, and then they have a drink and something, a snack, and then they go to bed. That works for the older ones, but little ones.
So would you say don't watch television half an hour before bed?
They say 3 hours now. Again, in the real world, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
In the real world, that's not going to happen. I certainly and would recommend not to have access to a TV in the room unless you're going to use it in the way that you say. Or access to a phone within that. Again, not because there's anything intrinsically wrong with it, because it is a stimulating activity. I would say the same for playing a game of Monopoly. 5 minutes before you go to bed. You're going to become too engaged in it.
TV in the lounge, they're in their pajamas, and then we all catch up on the sofa with a big blanket, and it's in the lounge, and then by the time they get into bed, go to the toilet, it's about half an hour.
Exactly,
But
I think that's fine.
It's a totally separate room, so that would be okay.
What you're doing, right, you mentioned separate room, is you're creating visual stimuli that says we're going from this time, which is daytime where all stuff happens, to this time, which is night time where stuff starts to slow down. Whatever the transition is, you're going to be all different. The pyjamas thing is important because, again, one family I was talking to, they changed into the pyjamas as they came through the door from school. For whatever reason. Onesies or whatever. Well, again, I'm not saying this wrong. Well, I understand the reasons for that, and again, it's the real world. There are times I do that when I come from work in a dark night or whatever. I get on at 7 o'clock. I'll do that as well. But what you're creating.
Daytime pajamas and nighttime
pajamas
now.
Yeah. What you're saying, if you have something, the more things you can have that'll say this is night time, or whatever that is, doesn't matter. But you said that as a joke, but I actually agree with you.
Yeah,
Nighttime pajamas rather than onesies or whatever. Something that only happens at nighttime or in the preparation for nighttime. We've mentioned a bath, because again, a bath, the warming environment actually produces that melatonin, and it's a physical. Gives you time to wash, balm and whatever. It's a physical thing where you're sort of washing away the day almost, and you're having something that only happens at that time. So the more things you can have to indicate that, even if they don't sleep or wake every hour or however severe it is, they are still in that environment. The only reason I'm saying that, I'm sure it doesn't apply much here, you talk to some parents who don't have that. And it's when you don't have it. They either start the bedtime routine straight away that they come in, or they never start it. So that they'll fall. I've talked to one dad and he said, I never bother changing them for sleep. They just sort of come in, don't get changed, run around, and then fall asleep on the floor, and then I'll pick them up and take them into bed. And that there were particular reasons around that. Exactly.
I mean, he called it nighttime and early time, and I like sprinter. But even when he doesn't sleep, he does know there are two different parts to a day.
There you are. And it's, for kids on the spectrum particularly, they need that structure. You can have a visual timetable. You talk about visual timetables that reinforce that thing. So, you don't play with, you don't play football in the house or outside after this time, because this time is now, call it what you want, nighttime, bedtime, whatever it is, you're associated. And one of the advantages of visual timetables, particularly for kids on the spectrum, again, we talked about, is that if your child actually comes to accept those things, they understand it, and actually then can almost anticipate it. One of the kids that we worked with, there was a nighttime visual timetable. This will happen now. We'll come home. We'll have all you're doing on visual time is you're breaking stuff down. We'll have tea. We'll play with the dog. We'll watch a thing. We'll catch up together on the settee. Then we'll start to do this. Then we'll go up. Then we'll change into pajamas. Then we'll have a bath. Then we'll change into pajamas. And then we'll go up from the living room into the sleeping room, even if they're not sleeping as much as they should. And then this particular young girl actually had that as a bedtime story. So the girl was called, Tracy or whatever, and then, what does Tracy do next? Well, Tracy has a bath next, she changes next. And she was actually anticipating, it's time for us now to have the bath, because she was comforted by that routine, that structure. And that structure was social story. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. You're using stimuli to actually reinforce that behaviour, and to some extent to create that good behaviour.
Have you got any advice?
Sorry, we live with using this is what happens in the night time or whatever, and still do to the extent we also have one for mum and dad. It's always worried where we were.
Okay.
So we had pictures for our different activities, so he would know.
Okay. So if Dominic was in bed, he would know that you were downstairs watching TV or whatever you
Or
did.
if he's in school, he knows what's happening.
Yeah.
Because it lowered his
Anxiety.
a bit, I put an awful lot underneath him because he couldn't buy shopping, so that's caused more beatings than anything.
But knowing you probably were anyway, Louise.
Yeah.
Paul, have you got any advice? So as soon as you've been trying to do a lot of these things, you've heard the things you don't get right. But mine got to the point where he could switch things off. He's done with all quite a lot of strict routines, and he's in bed and the lights are off. There's just a little light out around and sort of. And he still can't get to sleep. And as he got older, he'll say, I don't know what to do. I said, you're not supposed to do anything. I said, the point, you're not supposed to do anything. He can't get the right language for it. He doesn't know what his mind is supposed to do to be able to fall asleep. And that's the thing, my husband's tried tricks like, you look at the lights behind your eyelids and all these things you hear on people with insomnia, what do they try, But have you got any advice or tips?
only the cliche sort of things. Think of a happy place and a happy time, and imagine that you're in a happy time. Imagine what you're going to do tomorrow and all the good things that are going to happen. So to train the thoughts to be, if they are actual things,
I'm sorry, be careful because of the exams tomorrow.
yeah, well, yeah.
You do a good one.
Well,
That's what George was
oh,
like,
yeah.
because he's
Well,
so
the-
over
Start
7,
worrying.
he
They
doesn't
start worrying
know
then, you see,
what to do.
And
Yes.
the trouble is, they mentioned the exam X weeks ago, so
Yeah.
as soon as they mentioned,
Mentioned
they
it,
they used the word exam.
Yeah.
He's been stressing,
Yeah.
if they haven't said anything, just doing this piece of work now.
Yeah. And like I said, that
So do that with young children.
Autistic children don't like surprise and
No.
change.
No.
So you need to prepare, but you don't want to prepare to overload them with worrying, and it's like, which is the one
Yeah.
Far ahead.
do you know what I would do with the exam, for
All the
example?
time.
I would say, you know, to stop him over fixating on that exam, I would start talking about what great things we're going to do after the exams are finished, and make a concentration on that rather than adding
Because
on.
it's another thing with homework. Now, if he does his GCSE, he's going to have history homework, and they don't give homework in the first 2 years, but it's in bits and bobs. And I rang the unit and said, can I have homework every week? I said, we don't normally do it. But I said, the problem is, if it stops now, it is going to be an almighty shock on the first week in September, when he's having to do da-da-da-da-da. I said, I don't care what it is, just the fact he's doing something.
Yeah.
It's just keeping the routine in his mind so he knows.
But you are right, Sue, that whole thing about providing that structure, which kids on the spectrum definitely need, without making that an overriding thing that causes a fixation, is that balance. Well, it's achieving the balance between those things, providing the structure, but allowing that not for that structure to become overriding and affecting everything else. Like you.
Like when the teddy bear disappears, or
Yeah.
disappears, well, you don't do this in the routine, because actually in a mission phone call it's like they can't cope because you've changed the routine. So
Yes.
it's like having a named things, but not being too specific in what those
Yes.
things are.
Allowing
I
the
have
flexibility.
I have a sign that just says change, just every so often.
Yeah.
So he knows it's not doing, because then Dominic works every day of the week in a certain way, and I throw in after school change.
Yeah. And again, allow him to be instrumental in the control that change.
Yeah.
Say, okay, we're going to change just one thing out of that social story, that visual timetable. There might be 30 things in it, there might be 20, whatever it is. But say, if we were going to change one of those, Dominic, which one would you want to change? So he's become part of that. We'll have a bit of a break for lunch. Do you mind if we have lunch so we can talking? Is that okay?
Yes, please. About 3 hours I need to do.
Okay. Bring it in, Henry.
Have you got any tips on how I can get my daughter to actually go into her iPhone? She won't even sleep in there. That's the big problem I have, is that she won't even attempt to go in there. So I
Is
can't
there,
even
what do
get
you think
over
the
this.
reason that she won't go in? Is she afraid?
I've asked her, she won't tell me. Only thing she goes into her bedroom for is to get changed in the morning for school.
Did anything sort of...
He's literally only just done this, literally in the last 4 weeks. He's literally looking at now, sharing that's confidential. But we're fine, the situation was fine. I tried, he's kind of taking ownership now. You don't tell anybody this, I can't tell something like this, these things. And there's no detrimental effects to it, really, not really. He's kind of we've been rearranging his room for the 3rd time, and he's now older and managing that more and making decisions, and we keep changing where the bed is. And this time we might have just hit it lucky that he likes where the bed is. It's actually under the window, and he's opening one curtain and looking out at the stars, and he likes it.
Yeah.
So it was trial and error.
I'm sorry.
But we literally, all these other lovely rooms need sorting and decorating, and they don't get touched because we've done his room 3 times.
I bought paint charts, and I said, is there any particular colour you want? I said, we'll do anything in your room that you want. I bought alarm lamps, because she likes that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I've tried to make their room, I don't know if it's right or wrong, as boring as possible.
Yes, they shouldn't be overstimulating.
So they don't ever play in their room, well, very rarely. We're lucky we've got a playroom, but they play elsewhere, so their bedroom is
Yeah.
And
We
colour is
don't go
very
up to it until
important.
Yeah.
in the room.
And you said, Sue, about what does he do when he before he goes to sleep. He's asked you, what do I do? Maybe the answer to that question now is look at the stars, and that's completely fine, isn't it? It's not stimulating.
I don't know whether it's just about this sudden progress, but we stopped fighting that situation. Because it was the same with the diet. The biggest lesson we had was to take the stress out of the whole thing. Because, you know, when he was little, we used to spend the whole evening going through all those documentary ideas that you move 3 foot away from the bed,
Yeah.
and then you move 10 foot away from the bed, and you increment, and you move away from your child, so they'll stick an egg hot on the bed. None of it worked. We were just wasting our whole evening, all the stress, using all the time. No one had any fun at the time.
That's it, accepting that there's issues
Yeah.
We
working around
just
you.
changed. It was easy that he stayed awake with us because there's no other siblings being kept away. And then you'll share this room.
The only thing I could add to that is the more involved he is in that decision about, for example, where the bed is, the more likely it is to be successful.
That's kind of what's happened, and it's just somehow clicked this time.
Yeah. But I mean, that stars thing sounds fine. Let's have the sandwiches and bring them back to the around the table. Sorry, put them on the table there. Themselves in. Is that okay?